Morning, everybody. Today, I am going to start us off with a quote. It's one of my favorites, and it's said by Confucius. The man who says he can and the man who says he can't are both correct. Take that with you today and see where it takes you. Good morning, Daily Huddlers. Welcome to Wednesday, where we talk everything relationships and communication. My co-host is not with us today, Tara, but we love this topic because we know that relationships make the world go round. And before we dive in and I introduce our guest today, I want to ask a few questions. And I want to ask my first question to Sorrel. Sorrel, what time is it?
Good morning, Catherine. The time is now. Right now.
That's right. The only time there is. So let's get present. Be here with us now. Stan, I would love to ask you the next question.
Please do.
It's really a two-in-one. Where are you and what are you grateful for?
Wow. Boy, I am right here. Right here. And I'm grateful for the fact that I am here.
I love it. Thank you, Stan. Yes, it's right here, right now. We're grateful you're here too.
Thank you.
And I am going to ask my dear friend Gio the final question. Gio, how are you and who are you going to hug today? And if he's not there, I am going to answer the question for him. There he is.
I'm here. I am the way I say I am, and today I am resourceful.
I love it.
And I'm going to hug Maya today, my daughter.
Oh, Maya's a lucky girl. Thanks, Gio. Well, thanks everybody for being with us today. I have one of my favorite people on the planet here with us, ArtzyBella. Some of you may know her and have seen her on the Daily Huddle before. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of background on her. She is a rock star. She's a fine artist and entrepreneur. She is from Atlanta. She's featured in the Forbes Next 1000. She's a castmate on RevoltTV's Bet on Black, Valor Ventures 2021 Artist in Resident, and she's done commission work for the King Center, Delta Airlines, Artbound MARTA, and Livable Buckhead. She's also the CEO of ArtzyBella, which is an art and wellness company that leverages technology to help organizations and people heal and relieve stress. Welcome, Ashley. I'm so glad to have you here today.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for having me again. It's good to be back.
Yes. I was so excited that you said yes. So our topic today is how to learn to accept help. And this is a really interesting one because when you and I were talking about this, it strikes me as interesting. You own a company that helps people relieve stress and live a more, wellness-oriented life to be more well, and you focus on mental wellness. So tell me a little bit about how we landed on this topic and what's been going on with you.
So you guys may not know, Catherine and I check in with each other every once in a while, and we might get into conversations about business and what have we been up to, and then she always asks me, how am I doing? And then I told her I'm overwhelmed, I'm burned out, or I'm just coming out of it. I just got really overwhelmed with my business, and when we dug into the why, it was because I have this hard time with giving up control over everything, and delegating has been a very, very difficult thing for me to do. And because of it, I put so much more of a load on myself than I have to, even with having a team around. And so I realized that at the center of most of my frustration and what was burning me out was this having this difficulty of not getting help, but actually accepting it.
Right. Which is a really important distinction. There's a skill in learning to accept help. And so you found yourself really burned out. You were working too many hours. And what was the turning point for you when you recognized where you were and that you needed help?
Well, I think that the people around me, from my staff to my partners and my family, I think they were more aware of how overwhelmed I was than I was. I think me being in the middle of things, I'm so laser focused on the task at hand and completing the mission that I wasn't conscious of what I was presenting or projecting to others. And they could all see that I was definitely very overwhelmed. Every day, people were asking me, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" And I'm like, "Why are y'all asking me that? I feel fine," not knowing that I looked like I was about to have a nervous breakdown. So much so that my mom came to my studio one day and she sat down with me and she said, I've been meaning to talk to you for a while, and I just had to let you know that I'm very concerned about you. And she started crying. She said that she was very scared that if I kept going at the rate that I was, that I would have a nervous breakdown, that I would burn out so much that I could not continue to run my company, and that my health would just deteriorate really fast. She said that she could see it happening, and her fear and her crying like that, it was the thing that finally woke me up that something needed to change.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And Ashley, not everyone even would stop at that. So you had to make a choice or slow down enough to see what everybody, including your mom, are saying to you. What was it in you that allowed yourself at that point to go, oh, this is a problem?
Well, the other thing that was happening is that I started making more mistakes. I started making mistakes with clients, with projects that we were working on, things that normally wouldn't slip through the cracks were slipping. Things weren't being executed as well as I know to do things. And at first, I don't think I was aware that it was because I was doing too much. But when it started to see that it could impact the clients and their willingness to want to continue working with me, and I saw that if I fumble my company in any way, there are a full staff of people who are depending on me financially. And if I don't figure something out, then they suffer also.
Right.
And not only do they suffer, but the people who when I think about my mission of wanting to help people heal and wanting people to have better mental health support, if I lose my company because I'm making too many mistakes, because I'm not accepting help, then I can't do that work either. And I think those things made me finally say, okay, I've got to do something different.
Yeah. So it sounds like you realized what was at stake.
Yeah.
And what was at stake was not only your mental health, but also your ability to then help other people, and therefore your impact. So there was this big ripple effect that started with your lack of taking care of yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I have to say this, we talked about this on the phone, and my wish for people, and you being one of them, is that we see that when we're the ones impacted. But what often happens is you saw everyone else being, potentially going to be impacted, and that's when you decided to make a change, right? So I think
I think that how it's easy. Like, I think about the creatives I work with, right? It's so easy for me to, or even my friends who do cool stuff. If we're in a room and we meet somebody, it's so easy for us to hype up my friend and talk about all the amazing things that she's doing or he's doing, but they won't do it for themselves. It's always so much easier to see, to fight for others than we fight for ourselves. I don't know why. I don't think it's healthy. I think it's definitely something we should pay attention to. But I find that it wasn't until I could see the impact that it was making on others that I was willing to do something about it. It was like the impact it was making on me wasn't enough.
Right. Right. Well, and at that point, it's like we take whatever we can get. So if it's the impact on others that woke you up, it's like brilliant. And maybe our next conversation will be, how do we turn that to ourselves and give ourselves the same care and attention that we want to offer others? So,
Yeah.
And I'm curious, what then, right? I want to know, what did you do then? Because, like, how did you learn to accept? It sounded like you opened up, you recognized there was a problem. Now what?
The next thing, everything with me, like before I actually do things, like these skills always start with mindset. I think the first mindset shift was vulnerability, being willing to finally admit to myself and be vulnerable with my team that I am not superwoman and I can't do everything. Being able to admit that was the first step. The first was, and then the other thing was to dig into, why do I need so much control over everything? Why am I not? I've got like a full team and I'll have specific things that I have them do, but there's plenty that they can take on that I'm just saying, no, I got to do it myself. But I needed to get to the bottom of why. Why am I even like this? And when I did that, I discovered that that was what was modeled for me growing up. I come from a line of very strong women. My mom and my grandma were both entrepreneurial, but very much by any means necessary, we're going to figure it out. Even if we're the only one, like there's no one else to help or support, we're going to figure it out. So I grew up that being modeled for me and being taught to me. So as I became an adult, even in corporate America, even in school, I was always that kid, instead of a group project, I'll just do it all by myself, right? And my teachers would let me do it. They probably shouldn't have done that because it definitely created a habit that it still affects me today. But just relinquishing the control and getting to the bottom of why it was there in the first place is where I got started.
Okay. And what was the impact? Like, what was your experience of letting go of that control little by little?
Oh my, it changed my life. I started with one project. I thought, so now what I started to do is say, okay, I've got all of these things going on this week. In my mind is, these are all the things that I have to do this week. So instead of thinking about what I have to do, let's think about the team, what we have to accomplish. So I think about what needs to get done. And then I, think through the skill sets of my team. And I think about who's best suited to get that done in the same way that with the same quality that I would get it done, or with the same speed. I would like both, but as long as I can get one or the other, it's fine. And so doing that small ways, I started to see this like weight kind of lifting off my shoulders. And then I started to realize, why the heck haven't I not been doing this sooner? I probably, my hair wouldn't have fallen out. I definitely started isolating myself, definitely went through a lot of emotional issues from not accepting help from people. And I think that it also helped my team build a different level of trust with me, knowing that I felt so confident in their ability to give them something that is so precious to me and trusting them to do it.
Wow. That's really powerful what you're saying, that by because in my mind, letting go of control means it's all going to fall apart, right? When I'm in that control space. And what you're describing is the opposite, that you not only built trust with your team, you feel a lot better, and things are getting done in a way and not being missed like before.
Yeah, yes. And it, it's crazy that it's not the first thing we learn in business. I mean, a lot of us kind of jump into entrepreneurship because it's trendy and it's cool, right? We can't wait to get online and tell everybody about this new business we started. And we don't learn the skills of what it takes to take this hobby or this hustle and turn it into a business and kind of running it like a CEO. And I wish that one of the first things I would have learned is that when you start talking about scaling a company, one of the first things you have to do is have a team. And I've talked with investors over the last couple of years about Artzy's solution, our online platform. And, you know, they love what I'm doing. They often said, you know, we want to see some more traction, which I went and got. But then they always said, there needs to be more of you. Like, we don't want to invest in a solo founder. And I'm like, why? I'm amazing. But what they identified that I didn't know, that I wish I did, is that I'm only capable of going so far alone. And when you're talking about scaling a company from making $500,000 to $1 million, to making 50 to 100 million, there's no way you can do that alone. You have to duplicate yourself. You have to round out your team with people who are strong in the things where you're weak. And had I had that mentality when I started, I think I could have avoided a lot of the burnout. There's money we've missed. There's clients that may have not been the happiest with the results that they got. And those are those significant things improve our KPIs, which, you know, helps prove our scalability. And so now in thinking about it, if I could go back, I would tell every entrepreneur, start with wrapping your mind around, you cannot build this by yourself if you want to scale it.
That's brilliant. You know, I'd never thought about that we don't get that messaging, because you're right. A lot of us as entrepreneurs come in and we just want to do the thing. We want to get it out there, and we don't really think about the bigger picture. And actually, if I slow down and build my team out the way I want, instead of try and do this thing on my own and push this boulder uphill, how much easier it would go. You know, and I want to highlight one other thing that you were saying, is that when I asked, how did you learn to accept help and what was the impact? You said, I started looking at the whole. It sounded like you would have a project or something that you needed to move along, and you looked at the whole picture. And then you picked the team member who was, you know, best suited for each individual piece of it. And I just think that is such a brilliant piece of knowledge, wisdom, information, advice, because I think as entrepreneurs and really as people, we often get so focused on the one thing that's in front of us and don't stop and look at the whole picture.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing, Catherine, is that I also had to look at not only who could do what, but there's something I noticed. So I work with a lot of creatives. You know, I figured out how to monetize creativity and talent. And so I do help a few creatives do that. And they're all in the same boat. Nobody wants to get a team. Nobody wants to delegate. And one of the things that I noticed is with one creative that I work with is that when things don't get done, they get very frustrated with the team. But what I have to remind them and remind myself is that not only do you identify who probably has the best skill set to do this, but also going into my new CEO mode, learning my new CEO skills, is the importance of training and leadership, is making sure that they have what they need to do it, and that you've taught them, you've taken the time out to teach them how you want it done. And then those things that you were worried about that made you feel like you needed so much control, you don't need them anymore. If you properly equip people, then they get it done the way you want. You're really almost duplicating yourself. And so that was something that I had to learn very fast, is not only do I delegate and hand things off, but I have to make sure that I'm teaching them what needs to be done and how, so that, you know, we can guarantee some good results.
Gosh, I can so resonate with that. It's so important. I remember when I had my business, I would often want to just throw things at people, hoping they would pick it up and do it the same way I did, you know, because I was moving so fast. And they don't, and then you get frustrated with them, and it creates this crazy cycle. And so it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is slow down, be intentional, look at the bigger picture, and do the things that serve that, you know, instead of the one thing that's right in front of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't want to operate in chaos. You know, I'm really have an opportunity to build something special, and I'm just not willing to mess it up, even if that means I have to get out of my own way. I'm gonna tell you, this pandemic has done wonders for my introspection and self-work. And one of those things is really just identifying, as a CEO, what don't I know that I need to know, and what do I need to do better, and accepting help has definitely been the hugest thing that I've worked through.
I love it. I love it. This is such an important topic. I want to open up the floor to questions because I know folks are going to have some and I have a bunch, but I would rather hear what our audience has to say today. Ronald, yes.
She's always amazing when she comes on this show, man. I mean, you are an amazing girl, Ashley. I haven't had a chance to stop by your place, but you know, with so much energy that you putting out there with, listen to you, give us a little bit of you. I mean, because you're very young. I mean, give us a little bit of your personal life. I mean, with how do you manage your personal life with all this? We don't want too much detail, but you're amazing that I just want to see who ArtzyBella is beyond ArtzyBella.
Great question.
Well, I feel like I have wrapped my whole life around ArtzyBella. But outside of artsy, I'm a creative. That's every fiber of my being. I always say I'm just a community servant that figured out how to take what I'm naturally gifted at, build a business around it so I could get back to my community work, but just do it in a bigger way. I worked in mental health for 10 years and I loved what I did. Serving people is something I think I'll be doing the rest of my life. I just have this burden for wanting people to be better and feel better. I wish I was selfish and didn't care, but I can't help it. And so I think even in my personal life, my friends, my family, like I'm just always trying to find ways to help, especially people who want to chase a dream. Like I'm the wrong person to be around if you are teetering that line of deciding if you want to jump into entrepreneurship or trace this dream that you've been avoiding all this time, because I'm going to be the one to push you right off the cliff. And then, see what resources and support that I can help put around it. A lot of people say I'm a connector. I love putting people together. Like, as we talked about last time, I understand the power of relationships. And if the relationships I have can benefit people who matter to me, and all I got to do is be a bridge and put them together, then I love doing that.
Okay, Ashley, tell us one thing that you do that's not related to creativity and art or ArtzyBella.
Oh.
For fun.
For fun?
Oh.
I'm really good at pool. I play pool and I go bowling a lot. I'm really competitive. I haven't lost a game yet.
I love it. I didn't know that about you. I love it. That's awesome.
I like cooking too sometimes.
Wow.
There we go. Great. Thanks for the question, Ronald. See, I learned something new about you today. Stan, looks like you have a question. Thanks,
No,
Ronald.
I was just, she just got that vivacious about it. She just makes you smile looking at her. But when she said that she hasn't lost a game yet, that made me say, whoa, this girl is bad. She's not just bad in business, but she sounds very competitive. You got to be very competitive. You say, I haven't lost a game yet. And especially, and it's true. So that's amazing. But I was just looking here online and I was looking at ArtzyBella and it's just beautiful. The establishment just looks beautiful. And I love to see the way you're interacting with the business. It's just a beautiful place. And I really wish I had known about it a couple of weeks ago when I was in Atlanta. I definitely would have stopped by.
Oh, that's okay. You'll be back. When you come back,
I will
we'll still be there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much and for sharing that information with us, because we can't do it all by ourselves. And it's too easy as entrepreneurs, I believe. To get caught up in trying to handle everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stan.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. And what Stan's talking about is a lot of what we talked about was if you can connect to your why, your bigger why, which is what you did. My goal is to impact as many people and, improve their mental health as possible. Then I think we are more likely to take care of ourselves so that we can be around to do that for the people around us. Again, ideally, that would start with, I want to feel this way. I want to be this way. But if we can't, connecting to who we are and why we're here can lead us to accepting help and asking for help. So we're getting close to the end here, but Ashley, give us like one tidbit before we leave. Like, what would be your tip for all of us out here who are hustling, working really hard, and maybe aren't super skilled at accepting help? What's the one thing that you would tell us to do?
The one thing I would tell people with accepting help is to really get to the root of why you don't want to accept the help. Why is there this need to have so much control? A lot of times it could be rooted in what was modeled for you as a child. Sometimes there could be trauma related to it. And so it's a defense mechanism to control certain things. And then to think about, like you said, your why. Whatever you're building, why are you building it? And are you willing to risk not being able to take it as far as it can go because you just need to have control over things? If you're not willing to risk that, you have to identify at least one or two people to start that you can let help you with small things while you learn that skill and start to perfect it.
That's awesome. I think I heard you say that earlier, those small steps, right? Because we can't just, eat the elephant all at once. We have to do it in small incremental steps. That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Ashley. It's been such a treat to have you on again with such an important topic. And we definitely want to have you back because I do want to have this conversation about, let's start with us. Like, instead of, making sure everybody else is feeling good, let's do it for ourselves. And in that vein, I am going to end with our 7 tenets because they really are about taking care of ourselves and making sure that we have the resources internally to do what we want to do in the world. So y'all listen to these as if maybe it's the first time you've ever heard them, even if you've heard them before. Really hear what Patty Dabrowski left us with, which is love. Love yourself enough to take care of yourself so that you can go out and love others. And give. When you're resourced, you're able to give of all of your gifts: time, energy, love, money. And stress less. Life is a game. Play it with joy. Eat more plants. Your body will thank you. It will feel refreshed, especially after you get those 7 hours of sleep. So sleep, rest, rejuvenate, and resource yourself. And last but not least, it's one of my favorites: move your body, get out there, exercise, move in ways that you haven't and don't often. It's move it or lose it. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining us today on the Daily Huddle. Thank you, Ashley. We will see you all tomorrow on Thursday.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley.